CEO collapsed on the plane. A single dad helped, not knowing it would change his daughter's life. The first scream came from first class. Then the second scream silenced the entire plane. Ethan Cole turned from his paperback novel to see a flight attendant rushing down the aisle with a pale face and trembling hands. Something was wrong. Very wrong. And when a trained airline crew member looked that shaken at 35,000 feet, instinct kicked in. He grabbed his backpack, told his 10-year-old daughter Maya to stay seated, and raced toward the chaos, not knowing that moment would change both their lives forever. Flight 327 from Los Angeles to New York was cruising peacefully under soft, golden clouds. The afternoon sun bathed the cabin in warm light as passengers settled into their routines, some working on laptops, others napping with headphones on. In 17C, Ethan Cole sat quietly in the middle seat, his large frame cramped but composed. A rugged man in his late 30s, his strong jaw was shadowed with stubble, and a faint scar traced his temple, remnants of his days in the military. But now, his focus was entirely on the small girl beside him. Maya, 10 years old, hugged a worn-out teddy bear named Captain Paws, her legs swinging beneath the seat. She looked up from her sketchpad, drawing a dog in a cape. "Daddy, are we there yet?" she asked, nose wrinkling slightly. "Just a couple more hours, baby," Ethan smiled. "Try to sleep a bit." But sleep would never come. Because that's when the scream tore through the cabin like a bullet. From the front of the plane, first class. A female passenger's voice, panicked and high-pitched. "Help! Somebody help! She's not breathing!" Gasps. Rustling. Heads turned. Ethan unbuckled his seatbelt instantly. "Maya, stay right here. Don't move, okay? I'll be back." She clutched his hand. "What's happening?" "I don't know," he said, eyes sharp. "But I'm going to find out." Passengers in first class stood in a disorganized circle. A flight attendant knelt on the floor, hands trembling as she pressed them against the neck of a woman sprawled unconscious near seat 1A. Her skin was ghost white. Her lips, tinged blue. That woman was Olivia Munro, CEO of Munro Technologies, the youngest self-made billionaire in the country, though no one recognized her in that moment. She wore a silk blazer and stylish heels, but now, her body looked small and frail against the polished floor. "Please, is anyone a doctor?" the attendant cried out, nearly in tears. Ethan pushed through the stunned crowd. "I'm not a doctor, but I'm a former Army combat medic," he said, already kneeling down. "Step back and give me room." He checked her pulse. Weak. Shallow. She wasn't choking. No visible injuries. Her breathing was irregular, short gasps like someone halfway underwater. "What happened?" he asked. She said her chest was tight, a man behind him stammered. Then she collapsed. Ethan opened her blazer slightly and saw no medical bracelet. He gently tilted her head, started basic rescue breathing, and instructed the flight crew to grab the emergency medical kit and an oxygen mask. "Sir, should we land?" the co-pilot asked, crouching beside him. "Yes," Ethan said firmly. "Now." Maya sat in her seat, hugging Captain Paws tightly, watching the crew close the curtain between first class and coach. She didn't cry. She didn't make a sound. But her eyes stayed glued to that curtain, waiting for her dad to return. She knew what it meant when people didn't breathe. She remembered the day her mom didn't wake up. And deep down, she was scared it might happen again. Olivia Munro's breaths were fading. Ethan placed the oxygen mask over her face, tilted her head, and kept talking to her. "Come on, breathe, lady," he murmured. "You're not going out up here. Not today." She stirred slightly, her fingers twitching. Ethan caught the subtle movement and leaned in. "You're doing good. Stay with me." Who?" she whispered, barely audible. "I'm Ethan. You're on a plane. You collapsed, but you're gonna be fine." Her eyelids fluttered, then shut again. Paramedics were waiting on the tarmac when the plane emergency landed in Denver. Olivia was wheeled off first, still unconscious but alive. Ethan stepped off the plane after her, breathless and shaken. As he reached the terminal, he felt a tug on his hand. "Maya, you saved her, didn't you?" she asked softly. He nodded, squeezing her tiny hand. "I just did what I had to do." Ethan sat in a quiet corner of the emergency waiting room, sipping black coffee from a paper cup. Maya dozed beside him, her head resting on his arm. He didn't expect a thank you. He didn't need one. But something about that woman's eyes haunted him. Powerful, yet terrified. Moments later, a sharply dressed man in a gray suit approached. "You're the man who helped Miss Monroe?" he asked. "Yes," Ethan replied. The man extended a hand. "Trevor Langston. I'm her executive assistant. She's stable now, thanks to you." "I'm glad she's okay," Ethan said simply. Trevor studied him, then looked down at Maya. "She's your daughter?" "She is." Trevor's expression shifted, curious, skeptical. "Miss Monroe doesn't usually let strangers near her. But she asked for you. And the girl." Ethan frowned. "She asked for us?" "Yes. She wants to meet you." Olivia lay on crisp white sheets, looking far more fragile than powerful. Her voice was hoarse, her face pale, but her eyes were sharp. When Ethan walked in, holding Maya's hand, Olivia sat up slightly. "You were the one, on the plane," she said. "Yes, ma'am. You saved my life. I just did what anyone would have done." She scoffed lightly. "No. Most people froze. You acted." Maya stepped forward. "You scared us." Olivia blinked at her. Something inside her cracked. Something unfamiliar, soft. "I'm sorry," Olivia whispered. "And thank you." Maya gave her a small nod. "Daddy's a hero. But he doesn't like when I say it." Ethan chuckled awkwardly. "She exaggerates." Olivia looked between them. For the first time in years, she smiled. "A real one." "Would you both stay a little longer?" she asked. "I don't like being alone." Outside, night had fallen over Denver. In a small hospital room, 3 lives sat quietly together. A billionaire CEO, a widowed single father, and a bright little girl who would soon become the unexpected link between their 2 worlds. None of them knew that the plane hadn't just crash-landed into an airport. It had landed them right into fate. Before I continue, let me know where you are watching from, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more powerful, true-to-life stories like this one. The Denver skyline shimmered under a pale blue dawn. Inside St. Clair Medical Center's private suite, the room was flooded with sterile light, and the rhythmic beeping of machines filled the quiet. Olivia Monroe lay still in bed, staring at the ceiling. She was alive, but something was broken. Not just inside her chest, something deeper. Her assistant, Trevor Langston, stood at the edge of her bed, tablet in hand. He wore the same gray suit from the night before, only now with loosened buttons and tired eyes. "They've already called the press," he said, swiping through emails. "CNN wants a quote. Forbes too. Do we confirm the health scare, or spin it?" Olivia blinked. "Say nothing. No press. Not yet." "Understood." Trevor paused, then cleared his throat. "And the man who helped you. He and his daughter. You asked to see them again. Are you sure you?" "Yes," she cut in flatly. Trevor raised a brow. "May I ask why?" Olivia didn't answer. Her eyes moved to the window. The truth was, she didn't know either. Olivia had boarded the flight alone, as usual. Her seat in first class was by the window, her assistant seated 3 rows back. She was replying to emails, ignoring the glass of champagne she hadn't touched. Her chest had started tightening midway through the flight. At first, she assumed it was stress. But when the pain spread down her left arm, and the air grew thinner, she knew. This was real. As the world tilted and darkness rushed in, her final thought wasn't about her empire, or her billions, or her company. It was about how utterly alone she was. A soft knock broke her daze. The door opened slowly. In stepped Ethan Cole and his daughter Maya. Maya clutched a paper bag, looking slightly unsure, while Ethan gave a polite nod. "Hope we're not intruding," Ethan said. Olivia forced a smile. "I asked for you." Maya stepped forward and offered the bag. "We brought muffins. Daddy says hospital food tastes like sad cardboard." Olivia blinked and smiled again. It was the smallest thing, but so unfiltered, so real. Nothing like the curated interactions she was used to. "Thank you," she said softly. "Blueberry." Maya nodded. "With cinnamon. They're my favorite." Olivia waved them to the chairs near the window. She sipped water from a cup with a shaky hand, trying to study them without making it obvious. "So," she said, her voice scratchy, "you're not a doctor?" "No," Ethan said. "Army field medic. Got discharged 8 years ago. Now I'm in construction." "You acted like a surgeon." He shrugged. "Did what I had to do. Would have done it for anyone." Maya leaned forward. "You scared us, remember? You just fell over." Olivia chuckled lightly. "I tend to fall hard when I fall." That made Maya giggle. Ethan smiled faintly. And in that moment, Olivia felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Warmth. To the world, she was invincible. The youngest woman ever to take a tech company public. CEO of Monroe Technologies. Billionaire by 35. A fixture on every power list. But behind the curtain, she was something else. An orphan raised by a bitter grandmother. A girl who clawed her way through Silicon Valley with no safety net. A woman who trusted no one because every man who once smiled at her wanted something. She had no husband, no children, no legacy, only code and capital. And last night, on that plane, when the darkness came, it was Maya's voice she remembered. "You scared us. Do you live here in Denver?" Olivia asked. Ethan shook his head. "No, we were on a connecting flight. Headed back to New York." "New York?" Olivia blinked. "You live there?" "Queens," Ethan replied. "Small apartment. Not as glamorous as your part of the city, I'm guessing." Olivia didn't respond. Maya chimed in. "We were visiting Grandma. Daddy said it was important. She's sick." Ethan gave a brief, uncomfortable nod. "Well," Olivia cleared her throat. "If you're in New York, maybe you could bring Maya by my office sometime. For a visit." Ethan blinked. "You want her to visit your company?" "She's bright," Olivia said, looking at Maya. "Really bright. I'd like to show her around. Let her see what's possible." Maya's eyes sparkled. "Like a real tech place." Ethan hesitated. "That's kind of you. But we're not looking for charity." Olivia's face hardened slightly. "It's not charity. It's curiosity. And maybe, something I never had growing up." Trevor returned to Olivia's room an hour later. "She's cute." "The girl," he said carefully. "The man, former military. Records say his wife died giving birth. He's had a tough run. No dirt, but not our type." Olivia narrowed her eyes. "Our type? You know what I mean." She glared. "Maybe it's time I stop listening to what our type means." Trevor was silent. Olivia turned away, watching the shadows on the wall. "I remember her eyes," she murmured. "When I woke up, the first thing I saw was that little girl's face." Back in Queens, Ethan and Maya returned to their small 2-bedroom apartment. The ceilings leaked in spring. The heater coughed in winter. But it was home. Maya bounced on the couch. "Do you think she meant it? About visiting her company?" "I don't know," Ethan said, setting down their bags. "People like her say a lot of things. Doesn't always mean anything. But she liked me." Ethan smiled and ruffled her hair. "Everyone likes you, kid." But deep down, he couldn't shake it. Why would a billionaire CEO want anything to do with him? And why did a part of him want to see her again? That night, Olivia woke from a nightmare. It wasn't of the plane. It was from her childhood. A dark apartment. Screaming behind a closed door. Her hiding under a table, counting her breaths. She sat up in bed, heart racing, sweat on her forehead. Then her eyes drifted to the bedside. On the tray sat a small, crumpled paper bag. Blueberry muffins. She closed her eyes. And for the first time in months, she slept peacefully. The glittering towers of Manhattan felt like they belonged to another planet, one where people wore silk instead of denim, and meetings were held in boardrooms the size of basketball courts. For Ethan Cole, New York was home, but never once had it felt like his city. That was especially true as he stood awkwardly in the lobby of Monroe Technologies. Beside him, Maya practically vibrated with excitement. Her purple backpack bounced with each step as her eyes darted from the security guards to the massive indoor waterfall that cascaded behind the front desk. "This place is amazing," she whispered, squeezing his hand. "I don't know if we belong here, kiddo," Ethan said quietly, adjusting the collar of his only button-down shirt. "Let's just be polite, say thank you, and get out before someone realizes we're not billionaires." Maya grinned. "But Daddy, we brought muffins." A week after Olivia's hospital release, an official invitation had arrived in Ethan's mailbox, delivered by a courier in a black SUV. The letter was embossed with gold lettering and signed personally by Olivia Monroe. "Please bring Maya to visit our campus. I'd love to show her around." It hadn't included a return address, just a phone number and a time. Ethan had debated for days. Was this a favor? A reward? A billionaire's guilt? In the end, it was Maya's pleading eyes, and the way she said, "She smiled when I made her laugh," that made up his mind. Inside Monroe Technologies, the future was alive. Walls of glass framed open workspaces where drones hovered and robotic arms assembled prototypes in silence. Every floor buzzed with quiet intensity, young people in hoodies coded next to executives in suits. A woman in a sleek navy pantsuit greeted them in the lobby. "Mr. Cole, Miss Maya, I'm Jordan, Ms. Monroe's chief of staff. She's waiting upstairs." They rode the elevator to the 42nd floor. When the doors opened, Maya gasped. It was like walking into a spaceship. Holograms floated above desks. Programmable surfaces lit up under their feet. Olivia Monroe stood near the window, sunlight pouring over her shoulder, dressed in a white blouse and black slacks, as if she hadn't collapsed on a plane days earlier. She turned and smiled. "Maya," she said warmly, her eyes bright. "You made it." The girl rushed forward with her muffin bag. "Blueberry again. We added extra cinnamon." Olivia chuckled. "You're spoiling me." Ethan stayed back, hands in his pockets. "You didn't have to do all this," he said. "I wanted to," Olivia replied. "This place, this company, it's the only thing I've ever really built. But sometimes, I forget why I built it." She looked at Maya. "And then I remember." Olivia led them to one of the tech labs, where a young engineer named Leah was working on a kid-friendly coding interface. Maya leaned in. "That looks like Scratch, but cooler." Leah blinked. "You know Scratch." Maya shrugged. "We learned it at school. But I added sound effects. Want to see?" Before Ethan could protest, Maya dropped her backpack and pulled out her tablet. In minutes, she had recreated a version of the game, with a flying robot cat and explosion noises. Leah looked stunned. Olivia raised an eyebrow, impressed. "You coded that?" she asked. Maya nodded shyly. "On your own?" "With YouTube," Maya grinned. "And Daddy?" Ethan chuckled nervously. "Mostly YouTube." Olivia exchanged a glance with Leah, something unspoken. A spark had been lit. Later, Olivia invited them into her private office, a sleek room lined with books and digital art. She poured orange juice for Maya, coffee for Ethan, and sat across from them on a curved leather sofa. "This may sound forward," she began, "but I'd like to offer Maya a scholarship." Ethan stiffened. "For what?" "There's a private STEM academy. Best in the state. It's rigorous, but with the right support, she could thrive. I'd cover everything: tuition, books, transport. No strings." Ethan's jaw clenched. "Why?" "Because she's exceptional," Olivia replied. "And because I see something in her I haven't seen in a long time: joy, curiosity. She deserves every chance." Maya whispered, "Daddy, please." Ethan looked at her, then at Olivia. "We've done just fine on our own." "I'm not questioning your parenting," Olivia said gently. "But you saved my life. Let me give something back." That night, Trevor Langston stood in Olivia's penthouse, pouring himself a drink while she paced by the window. "This man, Ethan," he said, sipping scotch. "He's good on paper. But good men hide things too." Olivia turned. "What are you implying?" "I had a private report run. His wife died during childbirth. There was a malpractice case that got buried. He never sued the hospital. Just walked away. And that's not normal. He either has secrets or no spine." Olivia's voice turned cold. "He has heart. That's what you're missing." Trevor approached her slowly. "You're making emotional decisions. This isn't you." Olivia looked out at the night sky. "I don't know who I'm becoming," she murmured. "But I think I like her." Over the next few weeks, the visits continued. Maya returned to Monroe Technologies for workshops and lab demos. Ethan came too, reluctantly at first, but gradually warming to the place and its people. He and Olivia began having coffee in her office, talking about parenting, books, and childhood scars. They never talked about feelings, not yet, but the tension between them grew undeniable. Once, Olivia laughed at one of Ethan's jokes and nearly dropped her glass. "You need to do that more," he said. "What?" "Laugh. You look human when you do." She smirked. "What do I look like the rest of the time?" He grinned. Terrifying. At one of the STEM workshops, Maya solved a logic puzzle in half the expected time. The room applauded. Olivia watched from the doorway, hands crossed over her chest, something warm swelling in her heart. Later, she sat with Maya in the lounge. "You remind me of someone," Olivia said. "Who?" Maya asked. "Me. Before the world told me to stop dreaming." Maya smiled. "I dream all the time." "Don't stop," Olivia whispered. Trevor continued digging. The more Olivia pulled Ethan and Maya into her world, the more Trevor pushed back. He suspected Ethan of wanting something: access, opportunity, leverage. And when Olivia mentioned her health scare returning, chest tightness again, Trevor feared she was getting too emotional, too attached. He called a contact at a private firm. "If there's anything in Ethan Cole's past," he said coldly, "I want to know. Everything." One evening, after a coding class, Maya fell asleep on Olivia's office couch. Ethan returned to pick her up. He found Olivia sitting nearby, gently brushing Maya's hair off her forehead. "She trusts you," Ethan said. Olivia looked up. "I don't know why." "Because she sees who you are. Not what you wear. Not what you own. Just you." Their eyes met. For a moment, it felt like the silence between them said everything. But before either of them could speak, Olivia pulled back. "She needs someone who'll fight for her future." Ethan nodded. "She already has that. She has me." Sometimes, the thread that ties people together is the one we least expect. Like and subscribe for more of this real-like stories. The rain was light but persistent, like a whispering reminder that something was off in the world. Inside a small cafe tucked between two brick buildings in Queens, Ethan Cole sat opposite Olivia Monroe, the scent of fresh coffee between them. Maya was at a Saturday robotics camp, her excitement still buzzing in Ethan's ears. But Olivia had asked for this meeting without Maya, which meant it was serious. "Ethan," she began, stirring her coffee slowly, her expression unreadable. "I've been thinking a lot." "Okay," he replied, leaning in. "I want to offer you a role. Full-time. Head of Community Outreach at the Monroe Foundation. You'd oversee scholarship initiatives, build school partnerships, and help identify underprivileged talent like Maya." Ethan blinked. "That's unexpected. You're smart, compassionate, and you have first-hand experience. We need people like you." He paused. "How much does it pay?" "6 figures. Full benefits. Flexible schedule so you can still be with Maya." Ethan stared at her, brows furrowed. "I don't know what to say." "Say yes," Olivia said softly. "Let me invest in the future. Not just hers. Yours, too." That night, Ethan sat in the dark living room of their apartment, the job offer letter resting on the coffee table. He hadn't told Maya yet. This felt too fast. Too much. Too generous. He thought back to every time life had handed him something good, only to snatch it away. His military discharge after a back injury. The malpractice cover-up after his wife died. The jobs that dried up. The doors that never opened. He stared at the letter again. Was this a gift? Or a trap? Meanwhile, in a private office downtown, Trevor Langston sat with a slim file folder in his hand and a scowl on his face. The report had arrived that morning. Inside were photos, medical transcripts, and internal hospital memos. Ethan's wife, Cassandra Cole, had died during childbirth due to a nurse's missed vitals and a delayed C-section. The hospital settled quietly, no lawsuit, no publicity. But here's what bothered Trevor. Ethan never fought. He buried his wife, took the child, and disappeared. Trevor closed the folder and whispered, "Why didn't you make noise, Mr. Cole?" He picked up his phone. The next day, Olivia invited Ethan to her penthouse, a quiet dinner with Maya, Olivia, and a few of her closest staff. But something felt off. Trevor was present, hovering, watching. After dinner, as Maya helped one of the assistants clean up, Trevor pulled Ethan aside into the hallway. "You've built quite the rapport," he said coolly. Ethan folded his arms. "I didn't ask for any of this. But you accepted it." Ethan bristled. "Is there a point here?" Trevor handed him a white envelope. "You left a lot out of your story. About your wife. About the malpractice settlement. Olivia deserves to know who she's trusting." Ethan's face darkened. "You dug into my life? She's not just a friend, Mr. Cole. She's the face of a billion-dollar empire. She can't afford mistakes." Ethan stared at him, jaw clenched. "You ever lose someone, Trevor?" Trevor hesitated. "Didn't think so," Ethan muttered and walked out. Later that night, Olivia knocked on Ethan's apartment door. He opened it, exhausted. Maya was already asleep, curled up with Captain Paws. "I heard you spoke to Trevor," she said. "Yeah," he said. "Your pit bull dropped a folder on my lap and acted like I'm running some con." Olivia stepped in. "It wasn't meant to be an attack." "You think I'm hiding something?" "I think you're still hiding pain." Ethan sighed, rubbing his face. "You want the truth?" "I didn't sue the hospital because I didn't have the strength. I was broken. My daughter was in an incubator. And I was trying to remember how to breathe without my wife." Silence. "I'm sorry," Olivia said. "You should have asked me, not your watchdog." "You were slipping into my life," she replied, her voice tight. "Into Maya's life. I had to be sure." Ethan shook his head. "And now? I'm still not sure." He stepped back. "Maybe this was a mistake." She hesitated at the door. "Are we talking about the job, or us?" Ethan didn't answer. But the door closed softly behind her. 2 days later, Olivia sat alone in her office, staring at her reflection in the window. Her chest ached again. Not the usual pressure, but a sharp, stinging discomfort. She took slow, shallow breaths and pressed a hand over her heart. Not again. She reached into her drawer for the emergency nitrate pills her cardiologist had given her, but the bottle was empty. She panicked. The room spun for a moment. Then her phone buzzed. It was Maya. A video message. "Hi Miss Olivia. Guess what? I got picked for the school science fair. I wanted to say thank you for believing in me. You're my hero." Olivia listened to the message 3 times. Tears ran silently down her cheeks. 3 days passed. No word from Olivia. Then, without warning, she showed up at Maya's school. She looked tired, pale. But when Maya saw her across the courtyard, her face lit up. "Miss Olivia." Ethan stood from the bench as Maya hugged her. Olivia knelt. "I'm so proud of you, Maya. You didn't come to my last session. I thought maybe you were mad." Olivia shook her head. "Never." Ethan walked over, watching the two. "We're not the kind of people who get visits from billionaires," he said quietly. She looked up at him. "I'm not here as a billionaire." "Then who are you?" She looked down at Maya. "Someone who finally has something to lose." Moments later, as they all started walking toward the front entrance, Olivia's knees buckled. She gasped, clutching her chest. Maya screamed. "Olivia!" Ethan caught her before she hit the pavement. Her lips were blue, her body trembling. "Maya, call 911, he shouted. Maya grabbed Ethan's phone and dialed, her hands shaking. Olivia whispered through gritted teeth, "Don't let her see." But Maya already saw everything. And this time, she wasn't just scared. She was prepared. In the ER, Ethan paced the hallway in scrubs while Maya sat silently on the bench, Captain Paws clutched to her chest. A doctor emerged. "She's stable, but barely," he said. "Her heart's weakening. She'll need surgery. Maybe even a transplant." Ethan nodded. "Can we see her?" "She's resting. Just one at a time." Ethan turned to Maya. "You go first." Maya walked into the ICU, her little hand reaching for Olivia's pale fingers. "Don't go," she whispered. "We still need you." Ethan sat with Olivia later that night, machines softly beeping around them. "I'm sorry I pushed you away," she said faintly. "I'm sorry I walked away," he replied. They sat in silence. Then Olivia reached for his hand. "Promise me something," she said. "If something happens to me, don't. Promise you'll keep fighting for Maya's future." "I was always going to." Her eyes fluttered shut. And for the first time in his life, Ethan prayed for someone he barely knew, but somehow already loved. The ICU lights dimmed gently as the night shift settled into rhythm. Ethan Cole sat at Olivia Monroe's bedside, his fingers loosely wrapped around hers. Machines clicked and pulsed beside them. The whir of oxygen. The hush of steady heartbeats. But under it all was the deafening sound of waiting. The doctors had confirmed it hours ago. Olivia's condition had worsened. Her heart was no longer responding to medication. She needed urgent surgery, or a transplant. The decision had to be made now. And time was not a friend. Ethan leaned forward, voice low. "Don't give up now. Maya needs you." "I think I do too." Olivia didn't speak, but her fingers moved just enough to hold his tighter. The morning sun broke slowly over the New York skyline as Ethan stood in the hospital hallway, a cup of coffee cooling in his hand. What am I doing here? He wasn't her husband. He wasn't her family. In fact, not long ago, they had been complete strangers. But somehow, Olivia had become his person. His daughter's lifeline. A piece of their world they hadn't known they were missing, until the sky fell and brought them all together. He looked through the glass wall at Maya, sitting beside Olivia with Captain Paws in her lap. And in that moment, he knew. If Olivia wanted to live, they had to give her something more to live for. 10 days later, after the surgery, Olivia slowly opened her eyes to find sunlight slanting across the hospital walls and the steady rhythm of life still humming in her chest. A second chance. Her heart, damaged but still hers, had survived a complex procedure. When she asked to see Ethan and Maya, she expected just a visit. What she got was legacy. Maya held out a large envelope, bursting with color and glitter glue letters. "We made something," she said proudly. Ethan helped her open it. Inside was a full proposal, handwritten and drawn, called the Maya Monroe Scholars Program. Olivia blinked. "It's your name too," Maya said, climbing onto the bed carefully. "Daddy said you believed in me first." Ethan added, "We talked to your legal team. You already had a foundation. We just gave it a soul." Olivia stared at them, speechless. Her fingers ran across the words. "For brilliant kids who just need someone to see them." She looked at Ethan. "You did this." "We did it," he said. Her voice cracked. "Why?" "Because second chances should mean something." The weeks that followed were slow but filled with healing. Olivia stepped away from her CEO title, shocking the business world. Headlines exploded. Tech queen steps down after health scare, focuses on education fund. Olivia Monroe to launch private initiative supporting girls in tech. Behind the scenes, Ethan was offered, and accepted, the role of director of the Maya Monroe Scholars Program. Not as a token, but as a leader. He was hesitant at first. "You sure you want me that involved?" he asked Olivia. She smiled. "I don't want you involved. I want you beside me." 6 months later, a crowd filled the auditorium of the prestigious Parkview Academy. Teachers, donors, tech leaders, and young students sat together, buzzing with anticipation for the first annual Future Girls in STEM Gala. Olivia sat in the front row, thinner, healthier, glowing softly under the lights. Ethan sat beside her, his hand resting on Maya's shoulder. "And now," the principal said from the podium, "please welcome our youngest speaker ever, Maya Cole." The applause rolled. Maya walked nervously onto the stage, holding a note card she barely needed. She took a deep breath and began. "Hi, everyone. My name is Maya Cole. I'm 10 years old. And I'm a coder, a builder, and a believer." Laughter. Smiles. "Last year, I was just a kid from Queens. My school didn't have robots or 3D printers. But I had big dreams. And one day, my daddy helped a lady on a plane." Olivia teared up. Ethan cleared his throat. "That lady almost died. But she didn't. She came back stronger. And she showed me that being smart isn't something to hide, it's something to shine." The crowd went still. "She believed in me. Even when I didn't believe in myself. And now, because of her, other girls like me will get a chance too." Pause. "Not because we're rich. But because we're ready." The applause was thunderous. Olivia wiped her cheek. Ethan looked at her. "Did you know she wrote that all herself?" "She sounds just like her father," Olivia whispered. "No," Ethan said. "She sounds like her future." After the gala, Olivia and Ethan stood on the balcony of the event center, champagne in hand, watching the city lights flicker below. "She's amazing," Olivia said softly. "She has her moments." "You know," she added, "you didn't just save me that day. You helped me find myself again. I didn't do much. You showed up. That's more than most ever do." They stood in silence, the city humming below them. "I still remember your face," she said. "The moment I woke up in that hospital. You looked like someone who had lost everything, but was still willing to fight." Ethan smiled. "You looked like someone who'd never been allowed to fall apart," he said. "Until you had no choice." She leaned on the balcony rail, their hands brushing. "What if I wanted to build something more?" she asked. "With you. With Maya. A life, not just a program." Ethan turned to her. "You sure you're ready to fall?" "I already did," she whispered. And this time, I want someone to catch me. He took her hand gently. I'm right here. The sun poured through the windows of a new home, a modest brownstone in Brooklyn, not far from Maya's new school. Laughter echoed from the kitchen. Maya danced in socks across the wooden floor, waving her cereal spoon like a wand. Captain Paws wants waffles today, she announced. Olivia, wearing a hoodie and yoga pants, something her old boardroom self would have never imagined, laughed. Then waffles it is. Ethan emerged, freshly showered, holding a folder of new applications for the Scholars Program. We just crossed 1,000 submissions, he said. Olivia kissed his cheek. That's 1,000 futures. And 2 waffles, Maya added. They all laughed. Later that evening, Olivia tucked Maya into bed. You know, she said, sitting on the edge of the mattress, when I was your age, no one told me I was special. Well, they were wrong, Maya said with a yawn. Olivia smiled, brushing her hair back. Thank you for being my family, Maya whispered sleepily. You were my family the moment you offered me a muffin. Maya giggled. It was extra cinnamon. Olivia kissed her forehead. Outside the room, Ethan stood with 2 mugs of cocoa. She asleep. Almost. They stepped onto the rooftop patio and looked up. Stars. Real stars. No jet engines. No boardrooms. Just peace. Ethan looked over. I think we landed. Olivia nodded. No, she whispered. I think we took off. Some stories don't just end, they begin again. If this journey touched you, like and subscribe for more dramatic, heartwarming stories that prove fate can fly in at 35,000 feet.